Hey, it's Dr. John Terry, the Black Belt Leader, and welcome to the Black Belt Leadership Podcast, where each week I'm giving you tips, tools, insights, and resources to help you become a better version of who you are and what you do as you discover, develop, and deploy your own Black Belt leader within. In 1966, the third installment of the Man with No Name trilogy reintroduced Clint Eastwood as an anti hero. And it was those three movies, known as the Spaghetti Western series, that made Clint Eastwood a household name. Now, the storyline is simple, and if you're a cowboy fan, you already know the storyline. A bounty hunter and a Mexican outlaw join forces in an attempt to outwit a third bounty hunter as all three search for a fortune in Confederate gold buried in an unmarked grave. Now, in this three-part series, Clint Eastwood is known by many different names. In A Fistful of Dollars, he's Joe. In A Few Dollars More, he's Mango. In the third installment, the final installment of the Dollars trilogy, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, he's referred to as Blondie. But in each of these installments, Eastwood shows up as an unassuming, quiet drifter. He shows up with someone looking for an opportunity. He's a man of few words with an intense stare whose actions speak louder than his words. In all three movies, his signature hat, his poncho, his cigar, and most importantly of all, his pistol become integral parts of each and every story. Now, Clint Eastwood in all three of these movies was always the opportunist. He walked into the midst of problems and he saw in every one of those problems an opportunity to enrich or to move himself forward towards a prize that he was looking to achieve. He was very purposeful in pursuit of the opportunities a problem presented. Now, in the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and I want to focus there for just a minute, in this particular installment, Eastwood was referred to as Blondie. Again, he's a bounty hunter. He's working with Tuco, a Mexican outlaw, and they're engaged in a money-making scheme. Tuco was a wanted man. Blondie would turn Tuco into the local sheriff and he would collect a bounty. He would later free Tuco just before he was about to be hanged by shooting the rope around Tuco's necks, and then he would pick him up in his horse and they would ride off to go to the next town and collect an even larger bounty, as now the bounty for Tuco had gone up because once again he had escaped the clutches of law enforcement. Well, after a botched attempt to free Tuco from the rope around his neck, Tuco and Blondie were at odds to each other. Matter of fact, Tuco tried to kill Blondie. And they were both looking for an opportunity to take each other out until they learned of a $20,000 bounty in gold coins that had been buried in an obscure cemetery in the middle of nowhere. So the duo makes up and they join forces in an attempt to outwit a ruthless bounty hunter nicknamed Angel Eyes. He too had his sights set on securing this bounty, but he wanted the money all for himself. So the search for buried treasure had begun, with each of these individuals having a clue to the whereabouts of the money. Now, the brilliant director behind this spaghetti Western trilogy was Sergio Leone. And one of the things I liked about Sergio in this trilogy is he would insert the characters into different real life situations from history to add some credibility to the movies. In the third installment, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, we see the characters dropped into the chaos of the American Civil War. Now, not only did it add a sense of realism to the movie, it also highlighted for the moviegoers an opportunity to experience the horrors of war in the 1800s. And throughout the movie, throughout the entire trilogy series, we really see the best and the worst of humanity on display. And Clint Eastwood is right there in the middle of it as an opportunist. Now, in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the climax of that movie happens when all three men arrive at a cemetery. All three men square off in a circle in the middle of the cemetery for what is perhaps one of the most climactic gunfights of 1960s Western lore. Now, it's at the end of this epic gun battle that Eastwood utters perhaps the most famous line in the movie. He hands a shovel to one of the survivors and he says this: "You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. You dig." Now, a common theme in all three movies is this: life is comprised of good times, bad times, and there are going to be times that are just downright ugly. And throughout this trilogy series, Eastwood's character had to make the most of the good times, the bad times, and the ugly times that he found himself in the midst of, dealing with the challenges, the obstacles that were set before him, and utilizing those challenges and obstacles to keep him moving forward towards the prize he'd set for himself. Now, each new problem that Eastwood's character saw in all three installments and every challenge he overcame opened the door to the next opportunity, but at the same time, it opened the door to the next challenge that awaits. And here's what I'm here to tell you. Sometimes movies give us a glimpse at real life. And in life, you're going to have good times, bad times, and times that are ugly. That's right. You will, I will, we all will at some point in our lives. Life isn't going to be good all the time. Sometimes life's going to be bad, and at other times, it's downright ugly. We're all going to experience good, bad, and ugly at different times in our lives. How we respond says a lot about us. But think about it. Even in the good times, we're still going to face problems. We're still going to experience challenges. Those challenges can be used to continue to move us forward, or if we allow, those challenges and those problems can distract us, can disrupt us, or derail us from the good times that we're experiencing. And just like in the No Name trilogy, you and I can find ourselves thrust into the middle of a circumstance or a situation not of our own choosing, but it's going to place demands on us whether we like it or not. And again, how you and I respond to the problems and the challenges that we're going to face says a lot about you and a lot about me. Remember, problems rightly used can propel you into your purpose. It's in our purpose that you and I find fulfillment, satisfaction, and significance. So what if we saw the problems for what they are? Opportunities to propel us to our purpose. So that begs the question, how do you and I respond to the good, the bad, and the ugly in our lives? Now, there are going to be times like Clint Eastwood in the No Name trilogy, we're going to find ourselves in the midst of a chaos, not of our own making. It's one of those moments, and maybe you've said it to yourself, I didn't ask for this, but I got it anyway. Those moments can and do happen. In the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, we see that happen to the character Clint Eastwood is playing. Blondie and Tuco, while they're searching for this buried gold treasure, they find themselves unwilling participants thrust into the midst of the Battle of Glorieta Pass during the Civil War. The treasure they were seeking was on the other side of a bridge spanning a body of water, and both the Confederate and the Yankee Army were fighting for control over this bridge. That bridge was part of a route that either side could use to move men and equipment to gain a strategic advantage in the battle that they were fighting. And what did we see in the interim? We saw a stalemate as each side continued to bombard the other and simply mindless killing day after day, week after week, as this battle raged on, neither side gaining an advantage. So Blondie and Tuco had a choice. They could stay there and continue to be an unwilling participant in this carnage that was taking place, or they could use the problem to their advantage. So, being the innovative person that he was, Blondie came up with a solution to the problem, a very innovative solution. He and Tuco took dynamite and they waded out into this body of water when no one was looking, and they strung dynamite across the bridge and they blew it to smithereens. Well, with nothing to fight for control over and no way to be able to cross the river, this strategic point of being able to move men and equipment back and forth being taken away, both sides simply abandoned the conflict and retreated, freeing Blondie and Tuco to continue to pursue the buried treasure in an unmarked grave. Remember, purpose is propelled oftentimes through the problems that you and I face. But it's important to understand when we face these conflicts in life, how we respond to the crisis we're in is what defines us. It's not the event itself that defines us, but it's our response to that event. I mean, think about it. Winston Churchill wasn't defined by World War II. He was defined by his response to the Nazi assault on his nation. He garnered the attention and the confidence of his nation, and he garnered the respect of the world as he stood up and opposed, through his words and his action, the Nazi assault on his nation. And the same is true for you, and the same is true for me. How you and I respond to the good, the bad, and the ugly is going to reveal who we truly are on the inside. It's going to peel back the curtain, and the individuals who are watching our lives are going to see what you and I are truly made of. Our preparation or lack of preparing is going to be on display for all to see. You know, I think boxing great Joe Frazier said it well. He said you can map out a fight plan or a life plan, but when the action starts, it may not go the way you planned. And at that point, you're down to reflexes. And Joe goes on to say that's where your road work shows up. If you cheated on your road work, if you cheated on your preparation in the dark of the morning, you're going to get found out right now under the bright lights when everybody else is watching. So think about it. Life is a drama that's played out on a stage. Or if you want to put it in a martial arts vernacular, life is a drama that's played out in the ring or on the mat. Other people are watching whether you realize it or not. And your decisions, the choices you make, not only create your outcomes, but it's going to influence other people who are following your lead and mimicking how you respond to the tragedies and the struggles and the circumstances and the obstacles you face in life. Remember, it comes down to what we've refined to reflex, the skills and talents and abilities, the discipline and control that we built into ourselves that's going to show up. And if we didn't refine those things to reflex, that's going to show up too when the going gets tough. Now, ask any martial artist, ask any legitimate black belt, and they're going to tell you that getting from where they were to where they are today, there was pain involved. There were push-ups and sit-ups and all of these different striking drills and kicking drills, hours spent punching a makiwara, having an opportunity to work on a heavy bag, sparring and going through all of these movements and putting in the time and the energy and the effort necessary to master those movements and getting to the point that you have truly earned that black belt ranking. Now, the same is true for every athlete that completes at a world-class level. They're all going to tell you the same thing. You know, whether it's in the gym, whether it's in the pool, whether it's on the mat, or whether it's simply putting in the miles on the road in the early morning hours, preparation places a demand on each and every one of us. And it's that unspectacular preparation that creates the opportunity for a spectacular performance when the going gets tough. But it's that unspectacular preparation that oftentimes you and I are going to experience painful moments in our lives. But these painful experiences can and do reveal to us that you and I are capable of saying, doing, and becoming more than we perhaps realized before we stepped into that painful moment. It's in and through those painful experiences as we go through challenges and circumstances and situations in life, we're going to experience personal growth. We're going to boost our resilience. We're going to have an opportunity to strengthen our resolve. We're going to boost our mental and emotional resolve, and we're going to create a better version of who we are and what we do in the process. As we go through creative problem solving, we're going to elevate our potential. We're going to discover and develop new talents. We're going to hone new skills, and we're going to enhance our capabilities as we discover that we're capable of doing more than perhaps we believed we could before we stepped into this circumstance or problem or a situation was thrust upon us. You know, problem solving enhances our creativity. It enhances our ability to innovate. It inspires us with confidence that, hey, I did it before, I can do it again. It boosts our tenacity, it strengthens our resolve, and it motivates us, keeping us moving forward. And to borrow a phrase from Og Mandino, persisting until we succeed. Remember, problems rightly used propel you and I into our purpose. But it's important to remember that it's in the bad times and in those ugly times when we often learn and grow the most. It's through those bad times and it's through those ugly times that you and I are tested and tried. And it's in those same moments that we're improved. And just as heat will separate impurities from molten metals, the problems that you and I face in the difficult seasons of life are going to create an environment where our flaws and our imperfections are revealed, and those things can be purged from our lives, making us a better version of who we are and what we do. Now, I want you to pause for just a moment and I want you to think about the challenges and struggles that you've already overcome. And I want you to think about it from this perspective. You and I would not be where we are right now today if it weren't for those challenges, those obstacles, and those situations that you and I have already overcome. You know, Zig Ziglar said it well when he said, the one who solves the most problems is the one who focuses on the possibilities and not the problem itself. Now, think about what Zig Ziglar was saying. Problems are a fact of life. We're all going to face problems in life, situations and circumstances often beyond our control. But here's what Zig said. Rather than focusing on the problem itself, you zero your attention on the possibilities that the problem presents. Now, if we go back to the first installment of the No Name Trilogy, Clint Eastwood finds himself in a town run by two highly influential families. Today, we'd call them mob families. Both of these families, the Baxters and the Rojos, were vying for domination and control of the small town of San Mateo. Eastwood walks into a bar that's right smack dab in the middle of this little town, and his statement epitomizes the possibility mindset that you and I need to take to the problems that we face. Clint Eastwood looked at the bartender and he said, Baxter's over there, Rojo's here, and me right in the middle. He said, that crazy bell ringer is right. There's money to be made in this town. So what was Clint Eastwood saying in this role in the movie? His character looked beyond the challenges of two warring families that were fighting for sole control of San Mateo, and Eastwood's character saw how he could use the problem to his advantage. So what did he do? In the movie, if you get a chance to watch it, A Fistful of Dollars, he took turns working for the Rojos and the Baxters, enriching himself even as they fought into each other, vying for control. And at the end of the day, Eastwood was the only one left standing. Now, here's what I can tell you. This is a similar strategy to what successful people do. They don't take out the competition, but successful people are the only ones standing. Why? Because they use the problem to their advantage. Remember, growth happens in the bad times, but transformative growth that moves us to the highest level that we can become in achieving our potential, that growth happens in the ugly times. Now, why is that? It's because it's in those trying, difficult, challenging times that you and I discover that we are truly capable of saying, doing, and becoming more. I drive a stick shift, and it would be like finding another gear I didn't know was on the stick shift as I'm driving down the highway. If there's another gear that I can shift into, I've got an opportunity to go faster and to go farther. And the same is true for us. When we face these difficult times with possibility thinking, we expand our potential, we unleash our innovation, we expand our creativity, we strengthen our resilience, and we expand our reach, our influence, and our adaptability. Problems rightly used can propel us into our future. You know, there's a famous quote by Og Mandino that comes from the third scroll of the greatest salesman in the world. And I really think it sums up today's teaching. So as I wrap up, let me leave you with this. The prizes of life are at the end of the journey, not near the beginning. And it is not given to me to know how many steps are necessary in order to reach my goal. Failure I may still encounter at the 1,000th step, yet success hides beyond the next bend in the road. Never will I know how close it lies till I turn the corner. Always will I take another step. If it is of no avail, I will take another and yet another. In truth, one step at a time is not too difficult. I will persist until I succeed. Now, to paragraph Clint Eastwood's quote from the No Name Trilogy, I want to leave you with this thought. Problems over here, problems over there, and me right in the middle. That black belt leader, John Terry, was right. There's a whole lot of opportunity here, and I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm Dr. John Terry, the black belt leader. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.